Great defeaters, new and old, welcome back to another very interesting episode of The Breakdown with your hosts, BaseDaKID, Tony, the Pugilist Boy. We are the children of the game. Tony, how you been, man?
Yes, my brother, I'm doing well. I've had a nice weekend. The weather is hot and nice. So, I can't complain, my brother. I can't complain.
Good stuff, good stuff. Yeah, I was decent weekend as well. I was at the O2, but I wasn't there for the boxing. There was a little nice little Muay Thai Grand Prix tournament on in the Indigo during the day. So went down there with a few friends and a few special people. Yeah, it was a nice little interesting thing. Hit up a little barbecue, family barbecue up in Luton later on in the day. But got up there just in time to watch the last two fights on the card. So yeah.
Good, good. So, without further delay, let's get into it. Let's see who's in the house. So, as always, from early doors, like 7 o'clock this evening, Mulla, big
My
up my
guy.
guy. Hope
What's
you
good?
enjoyed the event at the O2. I don't know if you caught Mulla. He was down there
I saw him.
with his
We met
family.
October finally.
Excellent. In the house, Bruce Kai, big up my guy.
What's up, Mr.
Uncle
Kai?
Jonah in the house. Jay Lands, Mr. A, off the canvas. Great to see you doing some work with Fight Fan TV. Yes, we are here. Great to
Salute,
see you
people.
too, guys. D Clan, what up, fam? Jam Down 187. And of course, not forgetting the Queen, October Red is in the house.
The
James
MVP of the
Douglas.
squad.
What's up? So, yeah, thanks for joining us, guys, on another Tuesday night of The Breakdown. And without further delay, let's get into what was going on this weekend. So, he keys it up. First and foremost, we start with the main event from Saturday night here in the UK. The rematch of Chisora against Pulev. I'll let you get into this one as it plays, so there's no sound, so you can just talk over my guy.
Okay. So this was definitely like a fight of two halves. Chisora pretty much did what he needed to do. Sort of the first 2 to 3 rounds, Chisora was pretty much in control, working the body. He wasn't teeing off to the head much, but he was investing in the body, trying to flood the basement, as someone like Tony Atlas would say. But yeah, overall he was doing some good work. Pulev seemed a little gun shy at parts of the fight in terms of trying to sort of let that jab off. He was using it more as a pour-in shot than his actual normal run or jab that he's known for. But he started to sort of get into it from about round 4. Consequently, it was after he started getting cut when he got the accidental head clash. That was the start of his ascension back into the fight. Derek's head movement was good as ever. He's always been very, very good, and the bob and weave coming onto the inside of his opponents, onto his opponent's range. But Pulev started to catch him with uppercuts. He started to catch him with left hooks and even a couple of right hands. It's just a pity that Pulev's right hand is that soft. Otherwise, it would have caused Chisora a lot more problems. But overall, Chisora kind of, I guess, eked it out in the minds of the public. Me personally, I do actually feel like Pulev should have got the decision again. However, it is about time, I guess, Derek does get one of these close draws. So yeah, congrats to Derek. Capricorn guy. He goes on to the next one. He says he wants Wilder, but we could talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on the fight. Tony, yourself, what did you think?
So, I couldn't be more different to you. I mean, this was a fight of two gatekeepers, hence why I put that in the title of the show. The fight of the gatekeepers. A 40-year-old and a 39-year-old. These guys have basically been to every corner for everybody, and their resumes are superb. You know, these are the guys that you go, I take my hat off, because guaranteed excitement. You know, they're not going to come in unprepared. I can't say I've ever seen either fighter coming up. Well, I tell a lie. Chisora came in unprepared for Tyson Fury 2.
And Caballero.
And Caballero, yeah. But yeah, generally, we know what's going to happen. These guys will stand up in front of each other, and we're going to see who's going to just be the one with the most. This is a Marvin Hagler word. This is oh man, what's the word? Attrition. There we go. Yeah, these two guys, it's all about attrition. Marvin Hagler had that in spades. He was going to be there come hell or high water at the end of the fight. He was not at any time giving up. And if you couldn't last the pace, like when he fought John the Beast Mugabe, it was just a war of attrition, because the Beast was all over Hagler. But Hagler was like, no, I don't worry. You can hit me hard all day, but you got to last 12 rounds. And if you ain't got the engine, I'm going to be there. And that's what happened. He took him out. So with that being said, the attritional war was won by neither fighter, to be honest. I thought they both put in a good effort. I thought it was an all right fight. But what I'm going to say is, technically, and this is the technical breakdown, that fight was really not great. Because although Chisora went back to Don Charles and he brought in that cross technique, you know, the Joe Fraser bob and weave, you know, yeah, he slipped a lot of shots. But Pulev got more than enough shots in on that technique. He just let his hands go. And that's what we kind of seen from Pulev in the past. You know, I look back at the last fight. What was that, Jerry Forrest? Mm-hmm. He just lets the hands go. You know, he's a fighter that if I was training somebody, I would say, look at Pulev. He's not great in anything he does. But what he does do is he throws his hands for 12 rounds. Yeah? Okay. He doesn't have rounds off. Yeah? He just keeps coming. He just works. And if you can win that war of attrition, you will win. Now, footwork was atrocious. Both guys. Neither fighter moved anywhere sideways. Obviously, Derek's moving off the line with the head movement and the rolls, but his feet are going nowhere. Yeah? Pulev, his feet ain't going nowhere. So Derek could find the body with ease. You know, roll the jab, boom, boom, underneath. I mean, you know, for those who you know, casuals who like that kind of action, fine. But let me put it this way. When you're looking at elite heavyweights, and we know who those guys are, and when you're looking at the prospects or the contenders, those two guys are neither. Yeah? Those two guys need to stay away from all of them prospects and all of those contenders.
So question, you said that you you've got the total opposite view from me. Like, what was totally opposite about your view? Because it didn't sound that different.
In that, I didn't think this fight was in any way good, technically.
I mean, I didn't say it was. That never came out of my mouth. All I said was that Chisora had very good head movement as usual, and it was making Pulev miss. But he managed to obviously get his hooks in and get his uppercuts in sort of towards the mid rounds of the fight, and then they both toughed it out. And I thought Pulev just edged it. But outside of that, I don't disagree with anything you said. I never thought it was going to be a great fight. But overall, let's be real, as you just said, one's 41, the other one's 39. They're both past it. Chisora's like a lot more past it than Pulev, but he just seemed to have a bit more heart in him to kind of still go the distance. But he's shot to pieces, but he's still good for a couple of rounds against anybody. And I'll give him a couple of rounds versus anyone in the world, because I still think he's got enough in there for that. But after those couple of rounds is where the problem comes.
Yeah. I mean, it depends who you say you're going to put him in with. I mean, if you were to say put him in with Michael Hunter, I'd say he'll give Hunter a lot of problems for a few rounds. If you were going to say put him in with Robert Helenius, I think Helenius steals with him. If you said to me, Frank Sanchez, evens fight. But, I
Nah,
mean...
Sanchez will bury Chisora. Too quick. Too quick. Chisora can't handle the small nippy guys. He'll give up. He'll just give up. Same as he did against Caballero. He needs someone that's going to more likely just stand in front of him and have a war. He doesn't want the technical boxing. He doesn't like it.
So yeah, some of the comments in the chat, Balfour, Owusu, Derek Chisora needs to retire. I believe that. I mean, look, I don't want to stop a guy earning money. And let's be honest, with 12 losses, the fact that he can still command money, and he clearly was making some good money because he made it clear at the pre-fight press conference that Eddie was paying him some good money. So, I mean, if he's making money, then who should bemoan him going out and keeping on making good money? But from a boxing perspective, you know, it's like the Amir Khan versus Kell Brook. I'm not really interested in them kind of fights. You know, guys who have gone way past their prime and are just in it for the check, not interested. You know, Floyd Mayweather can have as many exhibitions as he like. I'm not buying one of them things. Yeah.
I mean, I agree with you, but ultimately that's down to his wife or his missus and the kids to tell him to stop, because he's not going to listen to any of us. Realistically, they're the only ones I'm assuming he's going to listen to. But like I said, I think he's still got one good one in him. Like, in terms of a good sort of last final hurrah. This might have been it, but I reckon he can do one more. And then I think he would have fulfilled his own ambitions, whatever that might be.
Matt Tasty, I don't think you want to taste one of Pulev's jabs, because it might look like, but trust me, heavyweight's jab, you feel the force. Yeah.
No, but I think what he's saying, and I agree, is he was just sort of pouring with the jab. He never stepped behind his jab like he normally does. Even in the AJ fight, he was very tentative not to step behind it. He hasn't really used the jab. The last time he used the jab well in the Forrest fight, and that's why he had Forrest rocking in those first 4 rounds. But he didn't use the jab that well in the Chisora fight just gone. So I do kind of agree with Tasty there. It wasn't as effective as it should have been.
Okay. Bruce Kai says, in terms of heart and grit, what other heavyweight matches, Derek? Well, you know, I know a lot of fighters who've got heart and grit, but when the talent isn't there, yeah, and the engine isn't there, then you kind of have to say, you know what, for all your hard grit, I think you should walk away from the sport. People are joking on there. Derek has never been good on his feet. I enjoyed the fight. 2 older guys fighting. I mean, what are we coming to? Are we just going to keep letting 2 older guys fight instead of actually concentrating on the real up and coming? And let's be honest, the heavyweight division is full of guys that you could potentially make matches. And we know.
Yeah, but you know what? No, here's what I'll say to that. Here's what I'm going to counteract with. Like, okay, it's 2 older guys fighting. I agree. They're both past their prime. They both ain't got long left for this world of boxing or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's an evenly matched fight. Wouldn't you rather the 2 older guys fight each other than them start fighting the young up and comers and just getting punched up for fun? Like, fight your level in it. So let them fight their level as the old guys. And then let the younger guys fight each other like they should be doing, like they used to do back in the day, rather than, like, you know, beating up the guys that are on their way out just to have a padded record. Let the young guys fight each other, let the old guys fight each other, and let the ones in the middle in their prime fight each other. That's how I see it.
Okay. So I did a little graphic. I pulled up a little who's who, some of the contenders that have been mentioned since the weekend. Where do you see Derek Chisora going if you were to match him up with one of these guys or another name?
Me personally, I mean, look, I like the names that was on this list. I can't lie, yeah. Just for a bit of the deviant in me, I would like to have seen maybe the Deontay Wilder, but for the purpose of this, I want to see him against Lucas Brown. Lucas Brown just got a nice win over Junior Farr, which he wasn't supposed to get. Like that to me is a very even matchup. Lucas Brown's extremely heavy-handed. They both like to clinch and punch in the clinch. I think that's the fight that basically, you know, of that level, I think that's the only one that is realistically gonna be the favorite to win. Like I said, Sanchez toys with him. Wilder, I still think that he can handle Wilder for a few rounds. It all depends on Wilder's gas tank, basically. If Derek can stay on his chest and tire him out, then he can survive the whole fight. But if he gets hit early, then that's a problem. So I don't really want to see that one. Luis Ortiz, Derek does not like southpaws, doesn't do well with southpaws, even though Ortiz has got no punch resistance either, but he's still just technically better. Sanchez plays with him, and Dillian White might potentially not have any punch resistance left, but he's got more than Chisora and he hits harder. And he's still a technically better boxer. So of all of them, I'd like to see him just in a fun fight with Lucas Brown. It'll probably last 3 or 4 rounds, and it will be worth the price of admission just for that.
Okay, so Fight Fan says, I agree with Base. Older overhill guys have fun fights together as even and let the youngers fight each other, not beat up the OAPs or boxing to get scalp names, but beating a shell version of them. So, yeah, I mean, you said it there, Danny. I'm sorry, I just don't want to see the old guys fighting each other. You know, I just think there's a time. You know, we all know what happens to boxers. They go on too long in their careers. You know, it's very rare a fighter walks away from the game with his health completely intact, and you can say, "I went out at the right time." You know, a lot of fighters tend to go on too long, take one too many fights, and then it ends up affecting their health later in life. So yeah, you can see where I'm going with that. MC Tasty says stay away from Wilder. What's up, G Chain? Big up my guy. Del Boy said he's got a couple of fights left, so he'll target a big name. I don't want to see that, my friend. I don't want to see that. Before says the only 2 things Deontay Wilder has is heart and knockout power, and I am a Deontay Wilder fan. Okay, so interesting. I give him a little bit more credit than that. An Olympic, was it silver medalist?
Bronze
medalist. So, you know, he has had great foundation in the game. He did at one time have great boxing ability, but obviously the power overcame him and he became a one-punch knockout artist. And who can bemoan him? He actually has, you know, that great equalizer to be able to overcome adversity. G-Chain says, White is the fight to make. Chisora versus Babbage. Babbage ain't fighting that heavy anymore, my friend. He's gone down to bridgerweight. And Wilder badly hurt Chisora, in my view, as well. So, unless you got anything else to say on that, I'm going to move on.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, so also on that bill, we had, let's see what I've got.
Oh, hold on. Before you do that, read out Bruce Kai's comment. It's quite interesting.
Okay, I keep saying this. No one will give Del Boy the payday that Wilder can, aside from AJ, Usyk, and Fury, which all won't happen. His highest payday is Wilder right now. Of course, I mean, I understand that, Bruce, but I don't want to see that. That's a lamb to the slaughter for me.
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised, right? I know, because I said this last year, when Fury was talking about his 5-fight deal and whatnot, and the fight he wants to end. He said he's gonna come out of retirement and give. He said his last fight is gonna be a Chisora trilogy. Now, on one of the Matchroom behind the scenes videos, I think it was the Make the Days Count documentary. Chisora called up Tyson. He's like, "Yeah, I'm retired. until after your fight. I'll come out of retirement and give you the trilogy. Now, we all know that Fury chats a lot of rubbish, yeah, but he also does sometimes talk truth within the rubbish. So it's not the first time he's made that mention. So I would not be surprised if at some point he does decide to come out and have that trilogy fight with Derek Chisora, because to him it's an easy night's work and a lot of money can be had from it.
Okay.
Wouldn't be surprised.
Is it better for Chisora getting one shot KO'd by Wilder with a small chance of winning, or a 12-round brutal fight, taking hits to the dome all night?
One shot.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's probably better one shot. But you know what? I don't want to ever see guys take that one shot, because we all know this ain't a game that you play, and you know it can go sadly the wrong way. Yeah, so I'm one of those. I'm health first. You know, don't take the chance. Right. So moving on. There's a comment that I need to address. Bafor keeps mentioning Frank Martin. Do you know who this Frank Martin is?
I think he's a lightweight or 135, or I'm not sure what it is about him that he's mentioning, unless he actually means Frank Sanchez, but I think it is Frank Martin he's talking about. He's a prospect.
Let us know who you're talking about, bro, so we can address it if we can. I mean, I can't say I know too much about him, in fact, anything about him, but yeah, let us know in the chat what it is about him that you think is all that. So moving on, this fight. I like this kid. I like this kid. He's just moved down from middleweight down to super welter. He took on a tough fight in Machich. What I can say is he's got great footwork. He's got great defense. He moves his feet in and out really well. Against a really stern test and the first time at super welter, I thought he put in an excellent performance. He won the fight on 10 rounds by scores of 100 to 90 two times and 99 to 93 on the other judge. The guy he was fighting, you could see, was a schooled guy. Very, very good. But Kevin is, I think, a prospect that we all need to start looking at. You know, Black Thunder, as he goes by his moniker. He has really super fast counter punches. You know, he moves in and out or out and in. You know, he does that slip counter really well. You know, his shots are so precise. You know, he doesn't throw a lot of shots unnecessarily. He uses different types of jab. So, you know, it's a really good jab. You know, sometimes it's a pouring jab to open up or create a movement from the opponent. But, you know, I really was impressed by this kid. And I really think he's one for the future. Machich, I got to say, he's got one badass chin because he took some shots. Obviously, he's had a decent career, 28 wins, 4 losses, but he's had some good fights on his record before. But, you know, I really like this kid. What's your thoughts?
The one problem I've got with Kevin Ajako, right, is that you can already tell what his downfall is going to be like 5, 6, 7 years from now, like when he's towards the end of his, or towards the back end of his career. He doesn't have great defense. Everything about him, basically, his whole defense is reflexes. And that, you know, it looks good, but I don't see much fundamentals behind it. So I can just see that he's an accident waiting to happen, because even in this fight he got caught a couple times flush that he should have never been caught with, because he had his arms down and he couldn't get his feet out of range in time. Now his punch selection is very good. He's very quick, he's very nimble, And he can cut angles, and he can hit from awkward angles as well. So he's got a lot of tools in the bag. But I'm very much a person that wants to see equal measures, offense and defensive responsibility, and I just don't feel like stepping up the levels from Maciej, that he can potentially get to where he needs to without sorting out those defensive issues and lapses, because the the reflex thing doesn't last forever. David Hayes a prime example, Roy Jones is a prime example, but even those guys had decent fundamentals in terms of their defense, which helped them to survive a bit more towards the later parts of their career. But it was an all right performance. He probably could have got the stoppage. Maciej has never been stopped, so it would have been a statement. But he kind of coasted a little bit, same as he did in his last fight that I remember seeing when I was in Nottingham. But yeah, I feel like he like I said, it was good, but I can just see where the issues are gonna be, and I can just see the error that's gonna occur. So as long as he tightens up on the defense, like the rest of it will be all right. But I'm happy. The one thing I don't also like is he's not a big power puncher, in my opinion. Like he can hit, but he's not a big power puncher. I've not seen any fights of his where like he hit someone with one shot and it visibly like disturbs them for the rest of that round, or like so. But when he throws his punches, it looks like he literally throws his entire body into it. So that then definitely tells me that maybe power punching and sitting down on shots isn't your game, and maybe you need to, as October's saying, concentrating more on the boxing skills and leveling up the defense, because getting up.
I saw that. I think
people.
I could say, I honestly believe I saw that this weekend in his performance. I saw fantastic defense. I saw some of the slips, the roll under the hook, the comeback with the hook underneath. I got to say, the boys' arsenal is superlative. I understand what you're saying about the power, but don't also forget he was campaigning at middleweight. So now when you move yourself down to super welterweight, there might be a different argument to be had. And obviously, as I said, Maciej, that guy's got some ass chin, mate. He has some ass chin because he's getting clocked and he ain't getting moved.
But as I said,
those shots really well. I do believe he sits
as I
those
said
shots
though,
really well.
I've literally seen him throw his entire body into almost every shot he's thrown in his last 4 or 5 fights, and he's barely making a dent in these guys. So power punching just might not be his thing. That's all I'm saying. If we go back and look at those fights, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Every shot looks like it's thrown with like the most spite, venom, and every single ounce and pound in his body.
All right. So that was Kevin Ajako. We wait to see what goes on next. And the other thing I like with him is he's active.
That's good.
Can someone pronounce his name properly? I believe it's Kevin.
It's Kierman Ajako or Ajiako.
Okay. So yeah. All right. So we move on. On the undercard, we also saw Fabio Wardley, 2 rounds against the big belly man. Not enough action to say anything, but obviously Fabio is just doing Fabio things right now.
Well, you can't really blame Fabio. His opponent pulled out on Thursday. It's not really his fault. He did what he was supposed to do against a last-minute replacement, which is what a lot of people do struggle with. So I'll give him that.
Yeah. October Red has given us, I believe, her understanding the name is Kia Van. Obviously, she would have spoken to him at the fight, I'm sure. Muller, the Irish names ain't pronounced how they look. So yeah, usual Fabio Wardley performance. So nothing to talk about. Also on the undercard, I didn't bring anything of the Soto. What's his name?
Who?
The other heavyweight.
Kingsley eBay.
No.
Oh, Solomon Dacus.
Dakers. I didn't see any of that. So
Yeah, that's okay. It was just a workman-like performance, coming back off of a shoulder surgery, so I didn't expect him to be any great shakes, but he didn't have much problems in there. Kept his guard up. He blocked even a lot of the looping shots that came in. He managed to block those fairly comfortably. So yeah, it wasn't an easy night's work as such, but it wasn't an uncomfortable night either. It was just workmanlike.
Ramla Ali, she was also on. Again, didn't watch it. I don't know what you
made. She made sort of a much harder fight than what I thought it would be. I mean, Rojas is obviously a little small pocket size fighter. Sort of tries to come in on the inside and just have a tear up on the inside. No power at all, but a lot of heart and sort of a lot of grit, and is obviously able to smother the work of a lot of like taller and rangier opponents just by keeping on the inside. But yeah, Ramla didn't really play to her strengths too tough. She definitely could have made that a lot easier by just sticking more on the outside and stepping behind her backhand, as opposed to allowing herself to get bum rushed. But she won the fight fairly comfortably, even though it was a lot more, I guess, competitive for her than maybe she had thought or I had thought it was gonna be. But she's got a lot of potential. But just like a lot of the other women, it's just like the power looks like it's starting to come, but there's just not enough of it on display yet. But I do think Manny Robles is probably one of the better people to bring that out. So big things in her. She's talented, but she's also, early, coming into mid-30s, so she's one of those ones you got to keep her active. You got to sort of get her into those positions fairly quickly, because it's, she hasn't got a lot of years left to play with.
So Muller, who was in the fight, in the venue, obviously making note of the fact that there was a huge following for Ramla. That's very interesting that you say that, because we have an all-female card coming up. You and I have had our discussion about that last week. I think the fact that we've got people like Ramla Ali who can bring a crowd means that potentially an all-female fight card could be a big seller for tickets.
Well, the thing, if you look at it, I guess you have to. Hatman made a decent point in one of his videos, so I'll give him credit on that. I still disagree with an all-female fight card, but he said he thinks it's a good idea purely because it will allow the broadcasters to actually see how much of the audience is actually watching these female fights. So if it does decent viewership, then they know that it's working. If it doesn't, then they know that maybe it's not what they thought it could be, and then it gives you a chance to reassess how you move going forward. But with something like this, you obviously got to remember Ramla Ali doesn't fight on Sky and Boxer. Sky and Boxer's female roster are a lot of prospects and Savannah Marshall and Tasha Jonas. And most of their prospects ain't really from, most of their boxers, sorry, ain't from sort of the London areas where the fight's going to be taking place. So them trying to move those tickets is going to be a lot more difficult to do than someone like Ramla, who's actually from London, and her core fan base would have been from London as well. So it's a bit different. I mean, look, I want the female card to do well. I just don't want it to be looked at as a novelty type thing, which is what it will end up being. You'll get the people who really can't stand women's boxing, just all of them are just going to tune out because I don't like women's boxing, and then that's going to drop that viewership numbers. And if the numbers drop far enough, then they'll never do it again. So that's where the issue comes.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, right, I think the main two events are so good that I think the casual will say, you know what, I want to see this, because the talk between Savannah and Clarissa has got to some monumental heights at the moment. And obviously, look, can't help but say I love watching Alicia Baumgartner. You
Yeah,
know,
so do
and
I.
she's
But the
picked
problem,
up.
but you're forgetting that's two Americans who no one outside of the hardcore boxing community knows. So it's not like if they were two Brits, then that's a different argument. But you've got two Americans that only us lot know, realistically. Maybe some people might know Alicia because she's doing the modeling, but no one knows Michaela Mayer outside of the boxing community. So they're not gonna. It's not like they're gonna be selling tickets. Like that's literally gonna be all of Savannah's crowd and maybe like Ebony Jones or one of those people on the undercard, or maybe Tasha might be managed to get some people to come down. It's just a very, when you look at it as an all-female card, if that's what it is, it's just not. It's not like it's not the card that's gonna maximize that. It's not like
Okay.
a Katie Taylor with the huge Irish contingent in New York kind of thing. So that's obviously my opinion. I could be totally wrong, but that to me looks like that seems what it seems to be.
Mm-hmm.
I will be
Well,
getting my
I know
tickets as
you
soon
will
as
be
I can.
there. I know
Yeah.
I will be there. So let's look out for that. Okay, let's move on without further delay. We move across the Atlantic to San Antonio, Texas, where we had Mark Magsayo versus Ray Vargas.
Right, I haven't seen any of this card, so you're gonna have to take it away. I didn't get a chance to watch it.
Okay, so I'm gonna tell you what happened in a very, very entertaining fight. Mark Magsayo, the champion, came up against Ray Vargas, who already was a world champion at the prior weight. This fight was fought at featherweight for Magsayo's WBC title, a matchup between Philippines' Magsayo and Mexico's Vargas. Vargas was the former WBC super bantamweight champion, and this was a matchup of two undefeated fighters. Yeah, Vargas at 35-0, Magsayo at 24-0. I'm gonna call this the battle of the left hooks because this was a great fight for left hook enthusiasts. The early rounds of this fight were dominated by Ray Vargas. Ray Vargas, obviously, you saw the weigh-in or the picture of the two of them standing next to each other. Obviously, benefited from a length of height and reach over Magsayo, and he used that excellently in the early rounds. He basically used a great jab, sometimes doubling it, sometimes tripling the jab. When you see a guy who's got length and he can effectively use a triple jab, you have to say that's a guy who's well schooled. Obviously, he's got, Hall of Famer in his corner, Nacho Beristain. But yeah, this was a really great fight. Magsayo, I think his game plan was all about power. I'm going to come in, I'm going to hook this guy, I'm going to destroy him to the body, and then I'm going to take him out. Unfortunately, Ray Vargas was just too clever in the early rounds and totally dominated, wouldn't allow Magsayo to get the shots in. However, of course, this is boxing. You're going to get hit from time to time. And yes, he did have fleeting moments of success with his big hooks, but all too often he was catching air. Ray Vargas used great footwork. As I said, he dominated the distance work. He was totally in control of that for at least 7 or 8 rounds. So by about round 8, he was well up on the cards. And then came Magsayo coming back into the fight. And he literally decided, I'm going to close the distance and I'm going to throw everything in the kitchen sink. And this is what made it a really good fight to watch. The fact that even though Magsayo was able to dig into his well, very much in the way that Lee Wood digged into his well against Michael Conlan, Ray Vargas was still very smart, very clever about his defensive work. And although Magsayo got a lot closer and was able to tee off on Vargas, Vargas would take a shot, but he would ride it, or he would be in a defensive position where he could hold or get away from Magsayo. This was just a really, really good fight.
I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna try and watch it tonight or tomorrow because
Yeah.
Before we carry on, just a quick salute to Maestro. Big up. I did watch the press conference. I heard your question, like doing big things. So salute to you. Yeah, it was a nice steamy press conference still. So it got me a little more interested in the fight. Not that I
Yeah.
wasn't anyway, but I'm definitely interested now.
So, what fight are you alluding to?
Jake Paul and Hasim Rahman Jr.
God. Oh no. Oh no. You went there. You went there. Anyway, I'm getting back to the real boxing. So the Magsayo Vargas fight. Vargas was knocked down in the ninth round, and after he got up, Magsayo went hell for leather. But again, Vargas just kept making him miss. You know, he was throwing punches, and I'm looking at this fight going, whoo! And, you know, he was throwing his whole body into those hooks. But Vargas, very clever, did what he had to do. You know, he survived through the last 4 rounds and went on to win a title for the second time at featherweight. So, yeah, you know, we have a new champion. Well done to Ray Vargas, El Rey. And we can look forward to some very interesting fights at featherweight. Not least of which we could potentially see Emmanuel Navarrete, Gary Russell Jr., who Magsayo had beat previously to win the title. We got Josh Warrington. Think he'd have a piece of that? Nah.
It will be Vargas against Leo Santa Cruz. That's the only fight they're gonna
So
make.
I've got Leo Santa Cruz on my list, but I'm kind of reticent to use his name because he's just the missing guy at that weight. When was the last time he fought at that weight?
2019, but he's still the
Right.
super champ, so they can still unify. It's both. It's
That
two
guy needs to
Showtime
be
PBC
stripped.
fighters. That's what's going to happen. There's no point even. It's definitely never going to be Navarrete. He's top rank, and PBC is not happening. He's not going to do it with Eddie Hearn and Matchroom with Warrington. It's going to be Leo Santa Cruz.
Okay.
And then
So yeah, I
Lee
mean,
Wood is going to get stiffed on that super title again because he's supposed to be consolidating with Santa Cruz, but the WBA just don't seem to be getting the fingers out when it comes
wasteman,
to
total
setting up
wasteman.
that and ordering that fight. So yeah, Santa Cruz against Ray Vargas, count on it. It's going to happen.
Okay, so that was that fight. On the undercard of that fight was another pretty exciting fight. Brandon Figueroa. Let me pull that up. So I guess you didn't see this one.
I haven't seen anything.
It was an interesting fight. Figueroa 22-1-1 against Castro, who was undefeated at 27-0. Figueroa is one of them guys. He's been in with a lot of good guys, and this could have been a risky fight for him, but he was willing to take it, and he came through the test well against Castro. His work rate was phenomenal. As you can see, the inside fighting, hooks, the combinations. You know, look, this is a like 20 punch flurry to finish the fight in the 6th round. I think it was the 6th round. He did have Castro down in the 3rd. But this fight was all about pressure for Brandon Figueroa, and it puts him back in the talking for featherweight titles. So will be interesting to see where he goes next. Obviously, two featherweights fighting at decent levels on the same card, on the same company. That makes it really easy to make a matchup between Vargas and Figueroa. People are talking about that fight. Oh my God, I can't go in on that. I'm gonna let you talk about that later. So,
There's nothing to say. Like we're just talking about a press conference that happened, bigging up Maestro. Why you got to rain on his parade? Let Maestro be great, innit? He's coming off of a bad knockout defeat yesterday. Let him get his win.
I love you like a brother, Maestro, but you're going into areas of the game that I personally have a personal hatred for. But you got to do you, and good luck to you. So we'll move on again. That pretty much covers most of the action from this weekend, unless there's anything that you can think of.
Nope.
So tomorrow, it is tomorrow, Wednesday, we have another dynamite fight taking place in Japan with this guy, Kazuto Ioka, 4-weight champion, minimum, light fly, feather, fly and super fly. You know, he's coming up in what is a rematch, as you can see that. I'm showing some highlights of his knockout capabilities, but they'll come. A bit of the original fight is about to come with Donny Nietes, who is also a 4-weight champion. So this is an interesting matchup. How many times in your life have you ever been able to say a 4-weight champion is fighting another 4-weight champion? So the action you can see, guys, is from their first fight. This is going to be an interesting fight. Both guys are very good. I've made some notes. What have I made notes on? I didn't. So I'm just freestyling. But yeah, this fight tomorrow, it should be fun. Have you got anything to say on this one?
I mean, the Ioka, his last great performance was against Kosei Tanaka, which was, I think, back in 2019. Yeah, Christmas. I think it was Christmas time of 2019 or Christmas late 2018. He hasn't really been looking great since then. He looks like he's maybe not really taking his boxing as seriously. But I do think that for this fight, just because it's a grudge match and he did lose the first fight, in his mind a bit controversially, I do think he will be taking it seriously. And in terms of, look, I know it's going to be a good fight. I'm just trying to think who's got a bit more. I think Ioka's got more left in the tank. He's the younger guy out of the two. Nietes has had a lot more wars and a lot more fights than he has, so he could be sharp in one sense, but I feel like he's going to have a bit more of battle weariness, and I do think Ioka's going to just about eke this one out and right the wrongs of the first fight.
Cool. So we move on without further delay. The next fight for this weekend, coming up Saturday night, is this little matchup. So this is an interesting little fight. Obviously, Ryan Garcia on the comeback trail. He's obviously had that one comeback against Tego, where I don't think it was really much to talk about. Interesting comments that you might be reading, guys, from both Garcia and the 37-3 Fortuna. I personally don't think Fortuna can win this fight. I think he's bitten off a little bit more than he can chew. I expect him to be dominated because of the speed and accuracy of Garcia, and probably going to be a mid to late round stoppage for Garcia. What's your thoughts, bro?
I mean, my thoughts are, I think he might be catching Fortuna at the right time. Bear in mind, he was supposed to fight him over 2 years ago and pulled out of the fight. I don't think, if I can remember correctly, I'm not sure if Fortuna's fought since then. So I'd have to double check. But if he's coming off the couch to ring rust, the overall, I mean, I feel like his overall skill set is better, but I don't think I just think he's just not gonna be as switched on as he needs to be. If he's still got anything about him, I think he can last the distance. Because I don't think he's gonna give Ryan Garcia much openings to be able to land clean to take him out. But that's if he's switched on and if he's still got the same skills. But if he's, if the layoff shows on him, then yeah, it could be a very bad night for him moving forward.
So James Burrell, welcome. Fortuna is a good fighter, but he's really a 130-pounder. It's just a matter of time before Ryan KOs him. Uncle Jonas says, I hope Ryan gets knocked out. You're obviously not a Ryan Garcia fan. But yeah, I mean, not much more I can say on that one. Should be interesting. Nothing of note stands out for me on the undercard, so I did pull it up to have a quick look, but there's nothing on there I don't think worth talking about. Rocha versus Coty, 10-round welterweight fight. I've got no interest in that. Yourself, Base?
No, Rocha's always good for a scrap. So with the Rocha brothers are always good for a scrap. I think they're the two twins. So if he's on the card, I'll definitely watch his fight because both of them they're always highly entertaining when they come in.
So there you go, guys. You heard it first. Get onto that one if you can, because there might be a surprise in the co-main event. So that, guys, is it. I just wanted to bring up one more thing to mention. Some news that hit this week, because it has impacts on potential matchups that we were potentially looking at between Dmitry Bivol and Artur Beterbiev. The WBA have ordered Gilberto Zurdo Ramirez to fight Dmitry Bivol. Obviously, I know a certain man, Maestro, will be extremely happy to hear that because he's really high on Zurdo. What's your thoughts on this fight?
I knew it was coming. Bob Arum doing his thing as normal. He's responsible for it for taking place. That being said, I mean, it's a great fight. It's a fight that I'm more than happy to watch. I think that Zurdo's, I mean, he's southpaw. He likes to sort of fight on the inside. He likes to sort of be mid-range to inside, throw combinations, almost be a bit of a pressure fighter, which normally is a stylistic nightmare for someone that's a pure boxer like Dmitry Bivol. But Bivol's had loads of experience dealing with bigger guys than him, guys that, sort of want to sit down on their punches, walk their way on the inside. I think that Bivol's just too composed and too styled for him, to be honest. So, yeah, I've got Bivol winning this fight on points. Not comfortable, but I definitely see a UD decision. I don't think Zurdo's got enough for him, if I'm honest.
Okay. Interesting. So yeah, I'm not going to go into it prediction-wise because obviously we'll have plenty of time. They're looking at October 22nd, according to Gorgon Rugar. Danny says Southpaw comes in on a fight line at 200 pounds, but Bivol is too nimble and athletic and will beat Zurdo unanimously. So, yeah, I mean, as I said, I'm not going to go too much into it because we'll wait till week before to really analyze that fight. But obviously, it does have repercussions where I think now that looks like Anthony Yarde gets his vaunted title shot at Artur Beterbiev. And, of course, Eddie was trying to put together a package between Dmitry Bivol and Josh Buatsi. So I think that will probably be deferred. So there, guys, is the world of boxing, the technical breakdown by myself and BaseDaKID. Tick. Let's get the ticker in. Don't forget, guys, if you want to follow Base, he's got his regular show on the
Hardcore Casual.
The Hardcore Casual, yeah. Thank you, my man. All the details are in the ticker tape down below. Do follow him for his content.
Yeah, please do, guys. It's much appreciated. I'm over the second milestone at the moment with like that 250. So I think I'm towards the 260s at the moment. Um, Video should be dropping tomorrow. If I've got enough time to do it tonight, otherwise it'll be late tomorrow. But yeah, it's going to be some other stuff. Fem Files will be making a comeback at some point, but I'll explain in another video why there hasn't been one in about 6 weeks or however long it's been. But yeah, thank you for everyone for obviously sharing the support, and as always, thank you everyone for watching this show, because without you, we wouldn't have it. And yeah, it's fun to do every week. Make sure you
Thank you for
follow
your
Tony as well.
compliments. Yeah. So there's where you can find me. Yeah, we look forward to seeing you guys again next Tuesday with another weekend wrap. Don't forget, I'm not sure if there'll be a pod this week on Thursday. I do know KG's out in Thailand. I'm not sure how long he's staying out there for.
There's a pod. Don't worry, there's a pod.
There'll be a pod. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. So yeah, all the best, guys. We look forward to seeing you again real soon. Take care. Big up, everybody. Have a great weekend. Keep your factors and watch yourself with that big sun.
And love to October as always. Salute.
Indeed.